Thank you for inviting me, Manchester Pig Save. It's great to be here. We don't have a pig save movement in Sweden, so I feel very fortunate to have experienced this today, and of course sad by this incredible atrocity that's happening here. But I hope that we can be inspired in Sweden, because obviously we have the same kind of problems there with the exploitation and killing of animals. As you can hear, my mother tongue is not English. I hope you can understand me. Please tell me if you don't, so I can help you with that then. And at university I studied psychology, and this was some time ago, and since then I've been thinking about how can I use my understanding of psychology for animal rights. And when I started thinking about communication and how we can be better advocates for animals, then I found this connection, because there are things we can learn, I believe, when it comes to talking to each other about veganism, about animal rights. As August said, I've been a non-violence facilitator now about 15 years, first in the peace movement. But now I do workshops and presentations about animal rights almost exclusively. And in doing this I have learned that you don't always learn best by just sitting and listening, and you need to practice also. You need to try new skills. So that's why we're mostly going to have role plays in this workshop. I hope you're up for that. Yeah! Good. Someone else at least. Can be a bit scary for some, I know, if you've never done it, but I urge you to try it. It's not so bad. Something more about me, I do a project this year, and I did the same thing last year, called A Year for the Animals. And that means that I work full-time for animal rights, and that is possible because people have contributed with their own private gifts for this project, so I don't have to have any other income. And I have some merchandise with me. It's in Swedish, ett år för djuren, and postcards and some pins. Be free to take them, and also my business card. If you want to get in touch with me later, please do so. I have felt now in the animal rights movement that often, and this is in Sweden, and I'm not sure this is the same here in this country, but often there is a lot of focus on having the right arguments, having the facts. But what is often lacked, I feel, is that it's almost as much, or maybe even more, about how we talk to one another, rather than exactly what kind of arguments we use. But how to speak effectively is not a given. And even if you know theoretically what's good and what kind of ways that works better or worse, it's not certain that you will be able to pull it off when you are there in a situation talking to a mediator. So that's why we need to practice, I think. And the best way to practice, I think, is with role plays. That's my experience. But before we go into that, I would like to do an individual exercise with you. So if I may ask you now to close your eyes for some moments. And doing so, I would like you to think about what you need personally to practice, especially on when it comes to talking about animal rights and veganism with someone who doesn't agree with you. What do you need to practice on? Think about that just for a few moments. What is it that you might find difficult in these situations? And how can you handle it better? You can keep your eyes closed for a little while more and think about now, what are you especially good at when it comes to talking about animal rights and veganism? And think also about how you can use these skills more and more effectively. And now you can slowly open your eyes, and I invite you to turn to a neighbor and share some of the things, if you want to, that you now thought about, both pros and cons that you have when it comes to communicating veganism. All right? All right. It was a short chat, but I hope you got to exchange something about what you talked about. Now, let's see here. Well, of course, there are many things that are important to have a good discussion, a good conversation with someone. And one of the maybe most important things that I have found is to be a good listener. I don't know if you have found the same thing. If you are a good listener, you are able to communicate your message much better, I think. So I want to ask you now, what makes a good listener? Can you help me take out some things? Yes. Patience, thank you. Yeah. Not being dismissive, thanks. Yeah, David. Being present. And how do you show being present, David? How do you show that?
Sorry.
Looking at person?
Like hearing what they say.
Uh-huh. So hearing really and take in the words and find, look for the meaning, is that it? Like, what does it mean? Yeah, more?
Listen to understand, not listen to reply.
Right, listen to understand. Because what we usually do is to not listen so carefully, but we think about, oh, what should I say in the next moment here? Yeah, good, very good. Something else? Yeah? Being open-minded. Yes, I could be wrong. Or something like that. Or I might not know the whole story here. Yeah. Yes, something else.
Let me know if there's a lorry coming, okay? Just give me a shout.
Sorry.
Do you copy
I
over?
like to bring as much information as possible about when I do
Just let you know.
Right.
So if they're talking about their health, that's where the conversation's
I think we get that gazebo.
You can't speak to them until you understand what they're going to listen to.
So you want to find out some information about them, so you know whether maybe where they're coming from and what.
In the military sense, like before you attack an enemy, you need to learn about it.
Yes, thank you.
Clarifying what they're actually saying.
Sorry?
Being able to clarify what they're saying. So
Uh-huh.
they could live without me. So you're saying, are you telling me that you like die without me?
Right.
That was just really like crazy.
So maybe ask for clarifications. You get some more. Yes, very good.
I don't know if this is that relevant, but like sometimes I think of it like, say a Christian who's trying to convert me or Muslim or whatever, and I know when somebody's trying that on with me, I clam up and I don't like it. So I don't want to convert people in the same way, but I do. So that's confusing.
But I think that's a good realization. We don't want to be converted regardless of what it is, right? Because we put up our defenses right away. You can tell, as you can tell. I think every one of us can. So I would say try to aim for it like as natural conversation as you can have. I would say that, okay, we might know, maybe we know, we don't know, but maybe we know a bit more about animal rights than the person we're talking to. But maybe they know stuff that we never heard of or we're totally ignorant about. So maybe that can make us more, what do you say? Ödmjuka. Humble. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. Now we have talked a lot, but we're gonna practice also. And this kind of role play they're quite short normally. And think about that the person you have opposite you, that's the only person that matters when you begin the role play. You're going to try to ignore everything else around you. Only that person, okay? So try that. And I will give you the situation you're in, okay? I will tell you shortly. And I will also give you some instructions on how to behave and what kind of mood you're in and so on. And you try to follow that as good as you can, but also like in all conversation, it matters what the other person does, right? How he or she acts or what he or she says. So you can improvise from these situations and instructions.
Would you like this?
And I will ring my, you saw these symbols. All right, so scenario number 1. Listen actively to a relative. I have called this scenario. So we are attending a family dinner. And you on my left side, you are vegans. And you on my right side are the meat-eating cousin of this vegan, okay? And
Family's Irish, it's not
the both of you don't meet very often, so you don't have a strong relationship, but it's friendly whenever you meet, okay? And you both arrive just before dinner, and you're waiting for the dinner to be served, okay? And while you're waiting, you have a conversation. This meeting in Kassin on my right side, you know very little about veganism and animal rights. You're kind of curious, but you also have these misconceptions, and you are worried about your cousin. Does she or he get enough protein, etc., etc. Yeah, you don't think it's quite okay with her health. But you have seen now and then in the news about how animals are treated, and that is a concern of you, even though it hasn't taken root in your life very much. You don't really want to admit it to yourself, but eating meat is not sitting absolutely well with your conscience. All right, and now the instruction for you vegans. You will try to be the best listeners you can imagine, okay? And try to use several of the things that we mentioned here. You said some very good things. And try to do your utmost to respect your cousin, even though maybe sometimes you think he says stupid or weird things. You can still respect her as a person, right? They're animals too. And you really try to understand how they're feeling, where they're coming from, and try not to judge, even if it's difficult sometimes. You might listen really carefully and let her finish her sentences. Maybe you ask a couple of questions to find out more, like we talked about. I'm sure you, like me, can be irritated by a question you have maybe gotten a million times before. But you, at the same time, you know that the most effective thing is to receive that question with humility and clarity, and try if it's possible to think about the question as you would receive it the first time in your life. Maybe you can bring the freshness that you had the first time when you thought about that question. Okay, any questions now about the scenario and about your roles before we begin? First, I would like you now to close your eyes and think about your roles, who you're playing, the meeting cousin on my right, and where you're coming from, how you're thinking, and the vegan and your instructions to try to be the best listener. You hear the dinner is being prepared in the kitchen, people are chatting in the house, and when you hear the cymbals ringing, you will open your eyes and you will greet one another and begin the conversation.
Yeah, so are you. You still vegan?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's no
What are you going to eat early? I thought you'd be giving that up by now.
No. Once you're vegan, I think you're always vegan.
You know what, I gave it a go a while back, but I didn't last about 5 minutes. I don't see the point if I don't eat it. Somebody else will. So it's going to die anyway.
think about the animal, you think about yourself as well. I mean, since I've been vegetarian and vegan, I've probably saved about 9,000 animals. That's just me on my own.
But still, there's still billions of animals dying all the
I
time.
know there is, but it takes just what if one person can spread the news to somebody else and they spread it to somebody else and it grows and people become aware.
There's no way the world's ever going to stop eating meat. So I don't see the point. Plus, you need the meat for your protein. Where are you going to get like protein?
Where do I get mine from?
Where'd you get
I've not
your...
eaten meat for 30 odd years. Where do I get my protein?
I think you've got to just root it. I heard on the news the other day that there was people who actually were dying, getting that ill, that they were dying because of it. Or they were near death's door anyway.
I've recently done a blood test and it's fine. I get protein and I get lots of different kinds of protein.
Do you not have like shakes, like protein shakes and things like that?
No, I get enough protein from fruit, vegetables, pulses, everything.
That's boring though, that's stuff boring.
It's not, it's amazing. I went through this. I'm either thinking about food, cooking food, eating food, or feeding other people.
I bet it don't taste nice though.
Oh, it's
There's no chance you can make anything that's vegan taste decent.
You've got to go to some fantastic vegan restaurants out there.
Or like tofu.
It's not tofu.
I tried tofu once, it's like a horrible nasty sponge in your mouth.
What you do with it? Have you ever had it scrambled with a bit of soy sauce?
It's that'd be disgusting.
It's lovely.
You can't beat an egg. And then the thing is that the chickens aren't harmed anyway, they're not being killed.
They don't want the milk chicks because they can't produce them.
But the lot they don't feel it. Next minute they're alive, next minute they're dead. It'll be like a second ding.
It's life into the world, just in case we might need it.
But do you never think that that's their place though? Do you not think that they're thankful that they were given life even though it was taken away from them?
It's that arrogant. No, I'm not going to they're here just for me, for my convenience.
Yeah, try it all the time.
I think that I think they're probably thankful that they weren't alive, otherwise they never would have been given life.
What do you do about your beef?
But not everywhere is like that. Like it's British farms. It happens in other countries, but it doesn't happen here.
And what about the exhibition?
It doesn't. You can't think that. British farms. There's so many rules. There's the harvest police looking into it. There's loads of things that are looking into it. There's certain rules that you've got to abide by. But they approve food, don't they? They'll make sure that they live a good life, you know, when they don't suffer too much.
All right.
That sounded like a proper meat eater, didn't it?
Perhaps you can come a bit closer. You can stay in the lines, but come a bit closer so we can see each other a bit better. Actually, as a first step, we can shake off our roles, so you're now no longer in your role plays. You're yourself again.
I think I was too good.
Good.
I am very patient vegan.
That's good.
I was getting it
So maybe I can hear from a few. How was this, and did you learn something from it that you didn't know before? Yeah.
It was actually really fun. I really enjoyed it.
You enjoyed
I could
it?
tell how annoyed she was getting. And I can empathise with her character so well.
And what did you learn? Did you learn something from that, from your next conversation with the meat eater?
Just too defensive.
No.
I would think more.
You said too defensive.
I'm too defensive.
You were too defensive.
I was trying to just calm myself down and listen, and I'm like jumping in.
It is easy, isn't it, to just jump in and like you're in a boxing match, right? Almost.
Really nice. He didn't give me a hard time. But sometimes I do talk to meat eaters that are very gentle, but they will have questions about, you know, how do you eat properly, and
Yeah, I get that.
is it restricted? And it was, you know, just good to talk and sort of understand from their point of view that it can be difficult to give things up. They may not have the knowledge to replace things.
So this was a quite nice meat eater. And does that affect your strategy of how you're talking to him?
Yeah, just to really, you know, treat him with the same respect as I've been shown, and to know
And
that
you,
there will be lots of...
if he or she was aggressive, you wouldn't treat them with respect, or?
Yeah, I would still try and be calm and treat them with respect and try and answer the questions.
Maybe it's
as best
harder.
I could, but it would be harder, and if it got too difficult for me, I would
Right.
have to end the conversation and walk away.
Right. Thank you. Someone else? Something you learned?
Well, so it's just Anita was just really, really, really calm and really knew her stuff and kind of just flooded with me with information. So it's just like you get to the point where it's like a wave, like you can't fight it no more. You just have to go with it, just agree. Yes.
At any time did you put up some walls so it wouldn't affect you, or?
Everything she was saying, she was backing up
Okay.
with like actual evidence. So then you can't really attack it.
And also maybe because she was calm,
And she didn't go on
you
the
were not so
defensive.
defensive, or?
So she
Sorry?
kept really calm. She didn't go on the defensive.
Right,
So
right.
things didn't escalate. It was a nice chat.
Very civilised. I wish it was in real life it was like that. But I realised
Please speak up so the other ones can hear as well. Are you with us in back?
He's naughty, he's naughty. I was getting talked around as a meat eater, but I realised I was asking lots of questions. And that you were almost sort of feeling bombarded by me, and it made me think that when the meat eaters are slaughtered, they don't necessarily criticise, and they just want to know, because that's how I was before I went vegan. I just wanted to know, and sometimes the vegans I spoke to didn't give me the answers I wanted, which were specific ones about what you eat, exactly specific, you know, what your last meals were, and you know, how you cook and how you avoid things, how you get around things specifically.
I recognize that too, that sometimes when we get questions as vegans, we see it as an attack, but it doesn't have to be.
You weren't talking me around.
Yep, go ahead.
How to overcome the ego that comes from advantage of the moral high ground? How to overcome that smug smile when you talk to the meat eater?
Does anyone have a suggestion?
Because you know you're better, isn't it?
I think, I mean, that's also something we can develop in our lives, isn't it? But does anyone have any suggestions on how to do that? Yeah.
Well, I think it's good because you can empathise, because most people didn't start their life vegan. So you can empathise with the situation that they're in and compare it to how you were before you went vegan. I mean, I ate meat twice a day, every day of my life for 20 years. And then, and just understanding that it's just a lack of education on their part. And if you can educate them, I mean, it's your responsibility to educate them as you've been educated by someone else or something else.
I think there lies a lot of truth to that. I mean, many of us, like for me, it was a chance that I became vegan. I happened to meet other vegans. Not everyone has done that, right? So yeah, good point.